Good afternoon, Coolest Coast. It's time for Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge, welcoming guests Tim Gadzinski and Laura Schreiner from Manitowoc Public Library. Hi, Tim. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Tina. How are you today?
I'm pretty excellent. The weather is beautiful. It is a lovely day to be on the coolest coast.
Well, your hair looks so curly. Is that from the humidity?
Maybe, my hair is coming back and it's got a little curl to it. So,
Is it coming in with more color?
oh, like is it darker?
Yeah,
Maybe. Stand by. In a few episodes, we'll have to see. We'll pay
I
attention
think
to what
that's what the
happens.
episode should be about. We can easily just focus on that.
I should just have like a live stream cam on my hair.
Yeah.
We'd watch it grow.
Oh, kind of like the one on the octopus that was spitting out the light. I like that. I think that would be great. You know, what's weird is I know I'm considerably older than you, but my hair on my head has stopped coming in gray.
Really?
And I'm not coloring my hair. It's just it seems to be a reverse process I've hit.
So that can happen. I mean, I've always wondered if that's a
I
thing.
guess because like I just have it like where the beard meets my hair,
Yeah.
and my hair used to be really salt and pepper, and
Really?
now it's gone
That's
back to
really
being
not,
brownish.
it's really not at all. Man.
That's
strange.
cool.
Pretty fascinating stuff, huh?
Stay tuned. We'll have more hair discussions.
How could we possibly top this
You
hair
can't.
talk?
But I should say, we are live. Hello, world. And we're having
What?
this discussion.
I thought we were just recording. You can't edit any of this out?
This cannot be edited. So we should maybe get to our
Gosh
topic,
darn it.
which might be more exciting than our hair.
I don't know.
Because,
How do we top it?
That's
I don't know.
possible.
well,
Would
you have
Or
author.
we move on?
I
Oh,
don't know
we
if
have
it really
moved on.
is.
Tina
Yes, we
moved
have.
on
She
without
moved
letting
us
us
on.
know.
She moved us on.
Now there's someone who's full of stories and easy on the eyes to
Very
move.
much so, yes. And
So
he,
this
he shaved his head when he realized he had nothing on the top and just a long ponytail, per one of his stories.
Yeah.
So that's when he decided the ponytail had to go.
Oh,
About that. So I
so
know that.
this is a hair discussion.
Oh,
It is.
As it turns out.
Yes, yes.
So, in addition to Michael Perry's hair, this author is actually going to be in Manitowoc. Tell us the details.
Okay, well, he's going to be here 2 weeks from tomorrow on Thursday, June 19th at 6 p.m. at what used to just be referred to as the extension in town. It's UW Manitowoc, UW Wisconsin. Let me try that again. University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Manitowoc Campus Theater. And on Vebon Street, it's just what always used to be called the center or the extension. And he is going to be there for an absolutely 100% free event from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, June the 19th.
Okay, so fill us in on the flavor. What does this event look like? So, it's in the campus theater. So, auditorium seating,
Right.
author Michael Perry on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what is he like reading from some of his books? Is he sharing
Read
anecdotes?
He'll read an excerpt or two, but oftentimes he just talks and he just kind of starts, I don't want to say rambling, but he may start with a purpose and then he'll think of something else and then it'll lead to something else. And it's just,
Yeah, he's very off the cuff.
he really is. He really is. Yeah.
We were really fortunate enough to interview him on Emily and I did on MPL Insider. He came on our last show, and I thought we'd be lucky if we had him for 10 minutes. And we had to stop it at a half hour just because we have other guests on the show. He was so much fun to talk with. And what I was going to tell you is he spoke directly on that topic. Is like, he said he used to read more when he did these appearances, but now more and more he'll read a little bit, but he just starts talking, and he also doesn't mind that much if the audience like interacts during it.
I think he welcomes it. He does seem to welcome that.
Yeah, before
So, like a Q&A kind of back and forth is acceptable.
I would say so, but it's not even a Q&A. It's just like part of how he does his presentations now. There's not an official period at the end, although we can add that on,
I
I'm
guess
sure.
we could. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
But it's not like a hard and fast rule, like don't interrupt me. I'm telling a story kind
I
of
have to
thing.
say, I love Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin is just so relaxed and easygoing about things like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
he is
He is
the
Wisconsin.
most Wisconsin.
He is the most Wisconsinite there is.
Yeah, and I mean that in the best way
in the best
possible.
way, because I think the beautiful thing about him is he can travel in any circle, be super sophisticated while still being true to himself. He can carry on conversation with anyone about anything and be authentic the whole time. He's not pandering to anybody ever. I
Yeah.
don't think.
Well, and he was talking about a pitch meeting he had that didn't work out for a project in Hollywood. And then he transitioned immediately into like why he's still working out because he wants to. Uh, he framed it in the context of there's Willie Nelson and there's David Lee Roth. And Willie Nelson aged gracefully, and David Lee Roth didn't quite know when to give up the spandex, even though there was a time and place for it.
Oh.
And he just went into it. There was no transition. It was
The
fantastic.
first time I ever saw him, and it's some years ago, you kind of looked, you're like, that really can't be the author because he's dressed worse than everyone else here, And it was a library convention or something, and people aren't super, super dressed up, but like he looked like he really didn't belong in that sense, except you realize that really is who he is. And, you don't look down on him for it at all. Once he opens his mouth, like this is just a guy being real.
Yeah.
And
So he's really authentic is the impression I got.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got when I read his book.
Yeah.
This is just one of them, Population 485.
That's
And
his first one.
that is the first one. Yeah.
just a little pitch. I got this at the Friends of the Manitowoc Public Library used book sale. Really loved this book a number of years ago. And his authentic, nature and approach just really came through.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can learn more about the Manitowoc Public, the Friends of Manitowoc Public Library used book sale on the Coolest Coast in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I just went
What's the
a
date?
Coffee on the Coast.
What's the date of the book sale again?
Oh
26th? Is
goodness,
it June 26th?
Yes.
26th. One second, let me just.
Sorry.
No. But it is June 26th through June 28th.
Perfect. Now I can't
Thursday through
promise that there'll be more Michael Perry there, but if you're lucky, you might be able to snag some other
Yeah,
great
well,
ones.
I never know what's
We
going to
never
be
know
there.
what's gonna
It's
be
just a
there, right?
treasure trove.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do you know what I always, when people ask me how they should write, I always, and this was before I had read Michael Perry or knew Michael Perry. I don't know him. I'm sorry. That's
But you feel like you do.
you
If
do
you've
feel
ever
like
talked to
you
him,
know
you
him.
feel
He
like
is
you
so
know him.
easygoing and
Yeah.
easy to talk to. But I always say try and write like you speak. And it will, if you're writing, just about something that you're involved with, that's, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. And he is the king of that.
Mm.
When we had him on the show, and I did talk to him when he appeared in Manitowoc about 7 years
I think
ago.
it's
That
about
was,
that. Something
and
like that, yeah.
barely though. It was just at the book table, and I had just started working at the library and was just pretty much a plebe, and so I was just trying to help.
Yeah.
And but when I talked to him the last time, you feel like you know him.
You
Like
really
you
do,
feel
yeah.
like he's a friend that you've
He
had a
was-
long
He was
time.
signing books and he was taking his time with people while still keeping the line moving, which was lengthy.
Yeah.
But he never made you feel like, oh, move on, and like looking at his watch or something like, I need to get going or let's call a halt. He just has a conversation while he's writing. What would you like me to write? He is just real, and he just makes you feel like Yeah, he does. He comes across as I know this guy.
Yeah.
And I've probably conversed with him for 5 minutes of my whole life, but you just feel like you know him.
It feels like he's genuinely cool. So will he be signing books or having books for sale at the event on June 19th?
Yes. All of the above. All of those two things above. He actually travels with a merch person now. So I don't know for sure what there is beyond books. I don't think he has
He has some music CDs.
he has some music
from his band.
CDs. He has I think there's
I don't know what else there
some
might be.
there might be some books on CD, but he
Mhm,
travels with his own merch guy.
Probably in
merch
an old
person.
minivan. He used to say like he was in this broken down minivan just unloading boxes. And I think that was probably true.
Yeah, I think that. Well, he
yeah.
certainly doesn't have any set dressing.
No,
you know, I mean-
That's when you know you've made it, is when you travel with your own merch person, right?
Oh yeah.
yes, right?
I
Yeah.
think he just likes to keep it authentic. I mean, that word just keeps popping
Yeah,
up.
I just don't think he's comfortable with. He could run in other circles,
Oh, he
but
could.
does he really? I don't think he wants to.
I don't know. I think he's been around enough to know who he is. And
Right,
like when he
right.
decided to come back to Wisconsin after being a ranch hand
Yeah.
and getting his nursing degree, he's perfectly happy still at times being a volunteer firefighter and
Right.
an EMT and an amateur snowplow driver.
Yes.
So in Population 485, that's one of the big topics that he talks about, right? Is his fire rescue experience. And What else does he write about? What are some of
Meeting your
his other-
neighbors one siren at a time.
I think they
Yeah.
looked on him with suspicion because he had been away, and he comes back rocking this long hair. And I think there's some, his dad was a little put off by the fact that he's a nurse. Like, that's not really something a guy should be. You know, his dad's very old school. And so I think he had to prove himself a little bit when he came back with that suspicion of, well, who does he think he is? He's been away, you know, is he one of us? And I don't think it took him very long to, yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah.
He always was one of them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is a tiny town.
Yeah.
It's a tiny farming community. So, but I don't think I would be shocked if he changed while he was away, other than his hair growing.
Yeah.
You know, and getting a degree.
Can you tell us some of the other books that he's written? Do you have a list of the titles, or am I putting you on the spot?
No, not at all. He's written a book called Coop, which is about not just a chicken coop, but the farming life. There's one called Truck.
A love story, right?
Yeah, about a relationship with.
Yes, I did.
A relationship with an old truck. He's got one called Visiting Tom, which is about an elderly neighbor that he visits. And then he has collections of short stories, Roughneck Grace. There's one called Hunker. One's called Persistent Peace. He has, I think it's also a collection, Montaigne and Barn Boots.
Yep, Montaigne and Barn Boots.
Right. Then there's something about From the Top, the show place that he goes to in Chautauqua.
A Big Top Chautauqua.
Yeah. So he's got sound recordings of music, I think, there, and also stories from that lifestyle, maybe.
His band is called the Long Beds.
Yeah.
And,
so he himself plays music.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Essentially, they're in many ways the house band for Big Top Chautauqua. I mean, they play there often enough that they just kind of open
and
for
I'm not
people.
so familiar with that aspect. But
And I've listened to his music, and it's very much country tinged storytelling music. I mean, it's him singing his stories rather than speaking his stories.
He is a storyteller, but not in the best way possible. You know, just in finding the beauty in simple things, not telling these big elaborate stories for laughs, just observing life and talking about family. And I think the thing that stuck with me when I really realized how real he was he was talking about he has a stepdaughter. His wife had been married, and he calls her I believe it's his chosen daughter. And he kind of choked up when he started saying that. And I think that was real. He said, I don't like the step or any of these other things you call people who aren't your blood relatives. That's my chosen daughter. And that the whole place just went silent. Like there was not even any rustling. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, this is what we're in for. And he doesn't just say that to just be popular, be cool, or like, oh, what can I do to win this audience over? This is who he is,
So most of his writings, it sounds like, then are that personal nature, are his experiences in life in Wisconsin.
He has one novella, correct?
He has The Jesus Cow is a novel.
Oh, The Jesus Cow is a novel.
40 Acres Deep, which is a novella. But
wait, say those names again. The Jesus Cow is a novel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a cow born with, I think the cow has a birthmark on that reminds people of Jesus or some very religious experience. And so the people are coming from far and wide because they think this cow is some sort of a symbol.
Yeah, in some way.
Yeah.
Sacred.
Yeah. Yes.
Like the birth of a white buffalo or something like that. Yeah.
That sort of thing. So that was one. I don't know if he's as comfortable writing fiction from what he said, even at his shows. I think he's more comfortable writing just about his observations of life.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I mean, and especially as a Wisconsinite, I really appreciate when there's a talented author from Wisconsin who shares about Wisconsin life.
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't think his publishers and things out of, who are not in the flyover states, they don't know what to make of him because they'll be there's a story he tells about booking flights, and someone tries to book him on a flight to Milwaukee, which is very far from Fall Creek, which is where he lives, instead of booking him into Minneapolis, which would be far closer, but they just saw Wisconsin. Well, if it's in Wisconsin, you have to go to, there's like only one airport in Wisconsin, you have to go there. So then he said, and then he launches into this thing about telling him, well, think about a big old mitten, and that's what Wisconsin looks like. And I'm here, Milwaukee's here, and the Twin Cities are over here. And that, but it sounds hokey, but it's not hokey when he tells it.
This map that we travel with is like invalable, don't you think?
You
could say like Green Bay is here and Manitowoc's over here. And,
I know, it's kind of perfect. It really kind of is. So there's that. And he's got all these, some of the stories I've heard a couple times, and I hope to hear them again because just the way he tells them, it's very funny stuff. Even if you heard it before, it'll be funny this time. Even if I guess I'd encourage people, if you've seen him before, come again because it'll be different and it'll be cool.
Well, and he did neither confirm nor denied when he was talking about David Lee Roth that he was working out so he could wear chaps.
That
Uh,
did come up.
so
Yeah.
I don't know if he was joking or not, but we'll see.
Well, let's remind people what we're talking about. We are talking about An Evening with author Michael Perry. This is happening Thursday, June 19th, 6:00 p.m. This is a completely free event, and it's at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Manitowoc Campus Theater. You may know it as the Extension. You may know it as UW Manitowoc. Now it's called University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Manitowoc Campus over on VBON. So not even a library card is needed to enter.
Nope.
No
Nope.
advance, anything, just show up.
Nothing. Doors open at 5:30. Ample parking. And just come right in. Come with a group of yourself or a group of 20. Just show up.
You will feel like you've had a shared experience by the end of the night.
Oh,
like the person next to you, you'll nodding your head and kind of going, "Yep, that was funny." I don't think there'll be a stranger there by the end of it. We've all shared that.
Yeah, he's great at bringing people together with. Well, his stories, and we talked about this, they're focused on our commonality as opposed to our differences.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so,
and I think he's taking more and more pride in that as the world changes and people are trying to drive wedges. And in his mind, anyway, that's just speaking for him. He wants to talk about what unites us.
I love it. When I read a book, I always love to have like a pencil or a highlighter. So when I knew we were having this discussion, I grabbed my book off the shelf and I flipped through to see, like, when I read it, did I take any notes? Did I highlight anything? And I'd only highlighted 2 bits on the same page, but I thought it was interesting because this was, long before my accident, but he's talking about a sort of almost accident. And then he says, we function under cosmic whims.
Yeah,
true that. Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting that's what I had highlighted. And then Tim, for some reason, this other thing made me think of you. It says, a maturing aversion to elective suffering.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be a thought.
As you should be. As you should be. Yeah. He's pretty cool. He's wonderful.
Nice.
Not me, Michael Perry.
Both of you.
Well, he's way cooler than I am.
I don't know that.
I do.
He seems.
You know what? We won't know unless you come and see the author experience, right?
That's right. And look for my beard and look for his.
He might be in chaps. We don't really know.
Yeah, look for chaps or not chaps. But I bet that picture,
the baseball
he's not going to be dressed that much differently.
I've never seen him in plaid, and I mean old jeans. I don't mean like nice jeans, like old.
Oh yeah, worn in jeans, barn boots.
Yep.
So possibly the worst dressed person in the room, you said?
I would not be surprised.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people, I think, still tend to dress up a little bit when coming into a theater space.
But he won't.
He won't.
I guarantee he won't.
He will at least have changed from coming right from the barn, right? He won't bring the smell with him.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. He might have another speaking engagement nearby. Maybe. I don't know, but
possible.
He may have come right from the barn. I mean, he hopped on our show minutes after having gotten off the treadmill. So he obviously isn't worried too much about am I going to look good online. I don't think he worries about it. He just is who he is. And, speaking for myself, I should aspire to be that comfortable with myself.
It's such a great attitude to have, right?
Yeah.
We really all should.
It is. It's fantastic.
Okay, so
even though we're operating by cosmic whims.
Yes, exactly. So the event starts at 6 p.m. How long does it run typically?
Till 8.
Till 8. Okay.
Till 8 o'clock. And it probably, about an hour and 15,
I suppose,
just talking. Then if there is a Q&A, a formal Q&A, it'll come then, and then straight to the merch table.
Yeah. And I just, I don't even know if it's Q&A. I just think he really has this gift for making you think you know him. Like you've spoken to him, or you could just start a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And you really probably could. Yeah. Which is quite a
And he doesn't mind being asked questions, but I think it's more of a conversation that
really
he has.
Conversation with him.
Nice. Yeah. If he walked into the room right now, like if he suddenly joined us on this live stream, what would you say to him? What would you ask him? What would you talk about?
I like the story about the softball tournament. There is a softball tournament story that I've heard every single time, and I know what's coming, and I know how he's going to raise his eyebrow and kind of, mimic the guy who said this thing about a softball tournament, and I'm crack up every time because he's so funny. Also, the time he was walking along a busy street, maybe in Mequon, somewhere in the Milwaukee suburbs, and he fell like in the intersection or something. And then he wasn't hurt, but he was all embarrassed, like looking around, like, did anyone see me? But again, he takes these everyday events, and they're just so much funnier when he tells it, because he uses language beautifully.
Oh yeah.
He's not, he is not a ruler.
And accessibly too.
Yeah. Without talking to impress, the words just flow.
Yeah.
They really do. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a takeaway I had from his book too. It was just so relatable. It almost felt like you were just next to him having the experience, almost as if it was a shared experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he loves books. He loves libraries. He's all about family. I mean, all the things that most of us think are good things. He just espouses that all and has all these eloquent things that make it, I don't know, just so cool. It just makes you feel good about where we're going. I feel like when you leave that evening, you're going to feel hopeful. Like we just had a great experience. It just kind of reminds us and grounded us. And there's not going to be any fancy sound effects or any fancy anything. There's no PowerPoint. There's no anything. It's just a guy talking.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
And he asks for a microphone now when he didn't used to ask for a microphone, because he's blown out his vocal cords a couple times speaking without a microphone. So now he asks for a microphone.
But that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much the rider.
And maybe a few books that he might read a few excerpts from. Maybe a glass of water. And that's pretty much what there's going to be probably.
Yep.
You know what I would want to know, since he seems like such a likable guy and since I appreciate his writing, I'd want to know, who's he reading? What kind of authors does he like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I would think he's a Jerry Apps kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's aware of Jerry Apps, folks like that, I would guess.
Montaigne. He reads a
possibly.
lot. He still
I
is
would
reading
think
a lot
he's
of
probably
Montaigne.
pretty
He mentioned
eclectic.
that.
Yeah.
I would just ask him if he was going to be wearing chaps or not, so that I'd be ready for it the night of the performance.
If you knew that he were going to be wearing chaps, would you also wear chaps?
I'd have to,
Are you working or not that night? I don't think that's in the dress code, really.
I don't know.
There's Tim's out. It's not.
Well,
not
I don't know if that
code.
chaps are out of the dress code.
Well,
if you're wearing them with something.
I guess.
Right?
I don't think it's come up a whole lot.
Well, someone brought up, and I don't mind bringing this up in conversation, if they were going to wear their buttless chaps. And the answer is all chaps are buttless. They're not. You're meant to ride on the horse just in your jeans, and the chaps are supposed to protect you from briars and the roughness of the animal. So by definition,
I guess they're not.
So I guess I could wear chaps.
I mean, by definition, that's what chaps are, but
Right.
they're meant to be worn over pants, not just by themselves.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
In some crowds.
So you would wear them over pants, Tim?
I believe I would.
Okay, great.
Let me make this promise to anyone listening. If I were to wear chaps, I would wear them over jeans.
Gotcha.
Or perhaps even finer pants, depending on if I was going straight from, say, dinner at, a fancy restaurant right into the field.
Gotcha.
Things
Okay, if somebody hasn't had a chance to read one of Michael Perry's books, would you have a recommendation of what to start with?
What I've heard from people, and I've read a lot of his books at different times, so I can't always compare. I can't remember exactly which is which. Roughneck Grace, I think, is a really, really great compilation of things he's written for Wisconsin State Journal, and it runs the gamut from really funny to very, very touching. To have the Kleenex handy, and he goes back and forth. I think that's probably the greatest example of his strengths, which are legendary anyway, but that he can write about anything. But it's just a lot of short stories. In a way that short stories, I know people don't always love those, but I do think it's all experiences. It's just this experience. So they're all just their own little vignettes. That might be the best exposure to what he's about. I would say Roughneck Grace, maybe.
And you can pick that up at Manitowoc Public Library. We have a display of his books right inside the front doors when you come in.
We have just about every title he's written. I think every title he's written, some of them in sound recording format too. So lots of stuff to choose from.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Author Michael Perry is going to be in Manitowoc for an evening with Michael Perry on Thursday, June 19th, 6:00 p.m. at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay Manitowoc Campus Theater. This is a free event hosted by the Friends of the Manitowoc Public Library. Tim, Laura, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us all about this exciting upcoming event.
Oh, thank you so much for having us on, as always.
Thanks.
My pleasure. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Coffee on the Coast. Stay cool, everyone.